Apples of Gold in Settings of Silver. Chapter 4. April, God's Provision. Hell's Angels to the Rescue. Psalm 91:11. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. God often uses unexpected sources and resources to meet our needs. Author's note. Jim often told the story of his roadside encounter with the Hells Angels back in the early 70s, and I don't think I ever heard him recount it without tears. It touched him deeply. I know he had written his account of the story, but I haven't been able to find his copy, so I'll have to do my best to tell it in Jim-worthy fashion. It was a beautiful morning as I left the restaurant where I had eaten breakfast in Barstow to head to Las Vegas. The sun was just coming up, so it hadn't had time to bake the desert sand into a heated oven yet. I mounted my classic Triumph and headed east through the Mojave Desert, planning to arrive in Las Vegas well before the temperatures reached triple digits. I had fine-tuned the engine and checked every inch of my motorcycle and felt sure my efforts would guarantee a safe and uneventful trip. I hummed a popular tune as the Triumph roared into action. All was right with my world. With the confidence of an invincible 19-year-old, I navigated the winding road. Wildflowers scattered the usually arid desert. That spring had been especially rainy, and they flourished in the unexpected moisture. Less than 10 miles from Barstow, without warning, my front tire blew on a curb, instantly stopping the bike, breaking the fork, and throwing me over the handlebars into the barren terrain. I slowly checked my arms and legs to make sure they were still attached and noticed I was bleeding from multiple cuts on my head and torso. As if that weren't bad enough, I groaned as I surveyed what was left of the bike. Not only was the fork ruined, but the wheel was also bent into an unrecognizable shape. Obviously, a hopeless mess. The tire was shredded, the chain broken, the gas tank pierced and leaking. My spotless bike was shattered. I was miles from civilization. I had less than $100 with me, and cell phones weren't even invented yet. What was I going to do? I pulled the remains of the bike to the edge of the road and stuck out my thumb. Surely someone would pick me up. But they didn't. It must have been my torn shirt and jeans, my bleeding head. I felt like the injured Samaritan in the Bible. Everyone saw me, but sped up as they passed, giving me a wide berth. No one would stop, and it was starting to get hot. The sun was up in full strength now, and my redhead-sensitive skin was starting to sizzle. I sat dejectedly in the sand and dropped my head in my hands. Father, I really need some help here, I prayed. Just then I heard a low rumble that shook the ground beneath me. I lifted my head to see a huge convoy of motorcycles coming straight for me. I tried to make myself smaller, to disappear into the scenery as they approached. There were more than 100 bikes, and the riders looked rough. These weren't just high school friends taking a day trip together. It was the Los Angeles chapter of the Hells Angels. Father, I just prayed for help. And now this? Please just go past me, I whispered under my breath. But it wasn't to be. The leader, I later learned was Big Daddy Roth, slowed his bike and pulled to the shoulder, holding his arm up to signal all those who followed. He pointed at one, then another of the tough-looking bikers, and they obediently dismounted and collected the miscellaneous pieces of my totaled machine. Putting them on their rides in various configurations, they remounted and waited further instructions. I panicked. They were stealing my bike and leaving me to die in the desert. But Big Daddy pointed to one more rider who motioned me to climb on behind him. They were kidnapping me too? We arrived in Las Vegas, and still no one had spoken a word to me. I had no more information than when the bikers had arrived on the scene outside Barstow. They dismounted in front of a well-known bike shop, and those carrying parts of my bike took their cargo inside. I tried to talk with someone and let them know I didn't have enough money to pay for my bike to be fixed, especially at this exclusive custom shop. Big Daddy's girlfriend patted me on the arm and told me not to worry. Everything was going to be okay. But it didn't feel okay. She asked if I was hungry or thirsty and brought me a sandwich and Coke. I didn't know how hungry I was, and before I remembered my manners, I wolfed it down like a starving man. She grinned and asked if I would like another. I declined, but she could read my eyes. Minutes later, she returned with another sandwich, which I ate with more decorum. It was getting late, and I still didn't know what was going on with my bike. Finally, close to 5:30 and closing time, Big Daddy wheeled out my bike in pristine condition. What couldn't be straightened or repaired had been replaced. I protested. "I don't have enough money with me to pay for this." He simply smiled. Everyone is quick to remember and report when we do something wrong, but no one says anything if we do something right. "You will repay us in full if you tell your story wherever you can." He asked for my name and address, and against my better judgment, I gave it. Epilogue. 2 or 3 years later, I was working at East Lawn Cemetery in Sacramento, delivering flowers for the flower shop there, when I received a handwritten invitation to Big Daddy's funeral. Ironically, it was held at East Lawn, and I asked for time off to attend. As I approached the venue, packed with tough-looking characters dressed for work in my preppy clothes, several armed bodyguards blocked my path and asked what I wanted. When I told them I had received an invitation, they wouldn't believe me, and it wasn't until Big Daddy's girlfriend saw them harassing me that I finally got in. She recognized me instantly and gave me a huge hug. I certainly didn't want any of those burly bodyguards to think I was taking advantage of her, so I peeled myself out of her embrace. I was genuinely saddened to hear Big Daddy had passed and told her I was so sorry for her loss. She thanked me for showing up and told me what an honor it was to have me there. I assured her I would never forget their kindness and would tell my story whenever I got a chance, and now I'm making good on that promise.